Did you put something?
Not yet.
Maybe I don't start before you put something. You're a fell, and one should say,
Looks okay.
put disinfect the whole thing. Anyway, welcome everybody. So we were saying, this is the first time that we start at 5 o'clock. After people came at 5 o'clock, so I think this is really great because I didn't think that so many would be able to make it to come for 5 o'clock. So it's good. So, we could also say, okay, then we start later. I think it's not fair because you did make the effort to come at 5 o'clock. Well, whoever comes late, they will miss something. So, what to do? Now, did all of you, all of you are familiar with this text? Okay, no. I tell you, it's like, the thing is, it's a real Buddhist text. It's not kind of wellness and mindfulness and be happy now and whatever. So just to warn you, it's quite stern, it's quite serious. It goes with this verse, may the Supreme Jewel Bodhisattva that has not arisen, arise and grow. Then one continues with the chapters, may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. So this one verse is in this whole book. And it's called Shantideva's A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. So Shantideva assumes, first of all, he talks to himself, not to you. Because he says at the beginning of the text, I am writing this text in order to encourage myself to practice bodhicitta, to generate this mind of bodhicitta in order to be able to be of benefit to others. Whatever I will say in this text has been said before, but I wrote this especially to myself in order to encourage myself. Do you think it's a good idea that if one has a goal, that one kind of writes something so that we know where we want to go and is encouraged, or is it a bit stupid? We rely on the words of others that should encourage us. What do you think?
It's good.
Huh?
Very good.
Shoshana says it's good. The others? No opinion? Are you Israelis? No opinion? Not yet, yeah?
Well, it sounds very good to me.
Yeah.
And for me to teach, to learn how to do it, perfect.
Yeah.
As far as Shantideva is concerned, it sounds to me like a humble attitude.
Yes. It sounds like, when you go on in the text, you can see that he probably has already developed it because, so maybe for those who were not here, but I will not recapitulate the first 3 chapters, don't worry about for those other ones who were here for the other courses. He was a prince, but he didn't really want to become he didn't want to go into politics, but then he still went, and he had apparitions of Majushi and of somebody else, and then he tried to do politics very, very altruistic, and it was very helpful, but the people around him, the other powerful people, didn't like it, so he left his powerful kind of status, and he went to Nalanda, and he got ordained. He became a monk, but he never came out of his room. And he never came out of his room, and the people kind of thought, well, he's the 3-activity monk, so all he's doing is like sleeping, eating, and going to the toilet. So they thought it was not right because everybody else went to class and debated and passed exams and all this. I mean, this was a Buddhist university, many, many monks. So they thought they would embarrass him and ask him if he could teach them something. So he said, yeah, sure, do you want me to teach on a text that already exists, or would you like me to teach on a text that is my own? So they thought, ha, 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 we'll ask you your own text because it cannot be anything good. So then they thought, in order to embarrass him also even more, they made a very high throne but with no steps, so that he would be standing there not knowing how to get up. And so it so happened that he kind of, all of a sudden he was sitting there. So that means he has some kind of CDs already, some kind of powers that normal people don't have. And he started, kind of reciting this text, which is it's poetry. It's in a very poetic way, totally by heart. Like he didn't have a text. He kind of, and it's very, very well structured. If you know other Buddhist teachings, you see how well structured it is, and how many things you find in other, like the Four Common Powers, the Seven Limbs, the way to take refuge, and all this, that you find it. So he recited this, but then on the 9th chapter, when it says, when in your mind there's no more duality, but also no non-duality, then all of a sudden he disappeared. And people could still hear his voice, but he disappeared, and it's then that they realized what kind of being that is. But he never came back. Like they begged him to find out where he is. They begged him to come back. All he said, I wrote 2 other texts. So he only wrote 3 texts in his life. And they're hidden there, so if you want to find them, you can go find them in my room. That was it. So this is it. And this text by Shantideva is something that is, the Tibetan tradition has 4 different schools. The Nyingma, the Sakyas, the Kagyu, and the Geluks. And this is a text that is studied by all 4 of them. So it's a text how to develop bodhicitta, but it's really a text how to maintain it and how to make it grow. Yeah. So if you don't know what bodhicitta is, and if you have no clue, then it will be a little bit difficult. But don't forget, it's a text about how to train to become a total non-needy person, without any kind of thinking that, oh, what about me, and oh my gosh, what will happen to me, to really see the benefit of that, to really understand what it will bring for him. But the motivation for developing bodhicitta is not so much kind of for my own full enlightenment, which means liberation from suffering and the causes of suffering, the first 2 noble truths. But also, like, the first thing was like seeing the suffering of all sentient beings and really understanding how many of them are totally, enveloped in their darkness of not knowing why they suffer, not knowing about cause and effect, but then also not knowing about how things really exist by totally believing things exist the way that they appear to me. And with this kind of compassion, wanting to lead them also to be free from the suffering, like in order to free all beings from their suffering, this is then one becomes aware that as long as I'm in that state, as long as I am myself not liberated, then there's no way I can liberate somebody else. Okay, so basically, you think, yes, this will be as much as I can. I will go on that path of my own liberation from suffering and the causes of suffering, which means suffering. Dukkha means, it doesn't really mean kind of, suffering of pain, but it means like this mind who is always dissatisfied. Yeah, the dissatisfaction can be in a very, very subtle level, but it is definitely there. This wish for more of this and more of that, and better this and better that. No. So, and then as we are doing this, then we develop the world outside, but we don't develop our inner world, and then we create a lot of negativities, and which creates like tendencies or habits on the mind, which then, when the conditions ripen, then that ripens also again more dissatisfaction, more greed, more aversion when we don't have what we want, more anger, more frustration, more hatred. Basically, the Buddhist path, in very short terms, is that in life it's very easy to be frustrated and there's a lot of stress that nobody chooses. Nobody says, I'm so happy, it makes my life so interesting. Yeah, but it's very easy. I mean, everybody knows the word stress, everybody knows the word frustration. And not just words, I mean, everybody knows it from own experience, except maybe for Gigi, I'm not sure. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can just ask me, and then I will tell you.
It's only here where I'm not stressed.
Huh?
Only here I'm like this.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what we become. This is the thing that we start to think. Wow, we're living in a situation where we have so many things that are unwanted, and then one starts to look for the causes, which is like reacting to difficult situations with aversion or attachment or greed or desire or whatever. That's definitely one thing. It's not going to help. It's not going to make life better. And secondly, it actually makes it worse. Then the next thing that one is looking at, is it possible to really eliminate these factors or these causes so that we never really find what we want, meaning lasting peace, not lasting well-being. I mean, so many beings don't even know that this is possible, even though everybody wants it. Yeah, this is the strange thing. We all have this very, very deep longing for lasting peace and lasting well-being and freedom from, that the mind's not doing whatever it wants to do. Still, we don't believe that we can have it. If we can't have it, where's the longing coming from? I don't have a longing to have 4 arms. But this kind of longing for peace, for purity, for freedom, for well-being, it's always there. And this is why we are doing so many things, but we look in the wrong place, right? So then to look at this longing, is it possible to eliminate these causes for dukkha, for this dissatisfied mind? The Buddha says yes, and how, and this is the path. Now, one part of the path is you do that for yourself. It's called self-liberation, so that you're not being reborn again and again and again and again. And the second one is that you see that everybody else is in the same boat. And we're very, very dependent on others, just for normal survival. In order to attain enlightenment, we definitely depend on others, because we need to practice what is called the 6 perfections. So this is kind of the path in very short terms for those people maybe who've never even heard it. Okay, now we have done chapter 1, 2, and 3, and I sent some questions to Yael that you should have received. And actually these questions are a recapitulation of these 3 chapters, and you could find all the answers in the book. This is why I took the book when I made the questions, except for maybe what is bodhicitta, or which verses do you find inspiring. So I did what I do usually with other groups who will call themselves study groups. Like, I do send them the questions so that they're not totally unprepared. But then also I don't make it too easy for them. Like, they cannot then, when they answer, look at the notes, and they draw a number, and then they have to answer that question where the number is Om. It's a nice game, actually. Again, don't take this too seriously. If you don't know, you don't know. It's no big deal. Then also, again, look at your ego. I don't want to participate in this. If you want to learn something, you need to learn to be able to fail also. This is the best way of kind of learning and studying. And the people are used to it, to get this regularly. They're looking forward to it. And I think, like just asking you questions that you don't know the questions, I don't think it's nice, because then really because you didn't prepare, you didn't know what to prepare. But I sent you these questions in order for you to prepare, because it's no fun being in a study group when you don't know anything. It's really not interesting, and it's actually no joy also. And you should have joy in your practice, because otherwise this whole thing becomes far too difficult, okay? So just again, for the people who are new, as we continue with chapter 4 and 5, we'll definitely not finish 5, but maybe we'll get somehow into chapter 5. If you've never heard it before and you have ended up here due to karma, due to karmic imprints, that's what brought you here, so don't kind of despair or whatever and think, well, for the moment I don't really understand what this is all about, but maybe it is interesting. And especially chapter 4, it's all about paying attention to our kleshas, to our negative emotions, which is helpful for everybody, because negative emotions are not only exclusive to Buddhists. Everybody has them. So, what about we play that game? Are you all for it?
Yes.
Okay.
We love to be embarrassed.
So who wants to start and come and draw a number? You're not going to draw the number like you need to answer the question, then the next number, because if everybody draws a number now, you know, you look at the number and you go, and then you don't listen to what other people say. So,
can I just say something?
Actually, I can. You want to draw it? Yeah. Somebody starts, gets a number, and then we'll see.
Should I let each one?
Yeah.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
I sent the questions to everyone who's registered in the program,
Okay.
but apparently not everybody that is here are registered in the program, so not everybody has had a chance to prepare.
Okay. So whoever. No, you take one. And whoever wants to be the next takes one. It's an option. Yeah. It's totally an option. I don't want to embarrass anybody.
I didn't get what you
So what is it? What number is it? No, only one. You can't change. Yeah, no, this is what I just explained, Michal. I said, first you listen to what she says, and then the next one gets the number, because otherwise you start to think, how do I answer my question? It's like we think we're grown-ups, but we're not really. See, we're worse than children, actually. It's like, will I be able to answer that question?
I don't know what is the question. 29.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. 29. Why is the Bodhisattva vow compared to gold vase? Okay, why?
Okay. They compare it that a gold vase, if it breaks, it's easy to fix it.
The gold vase.
The
Okay.
gold vase. The gold is material that can work with it. In contrast, because in the Bodhisattva vows, the vows are to change the mind, and this is in contrast to the how to say the other the Pratimoksha. Thank you. Pratimoksha vows that have to do with speech and with the body. That it's easy to understand, but once it's broken, it's very difficult to fix it.
Okay. So these, very good. The Pratimoksha vows are kind of compared to a clay pot that when it breaks, and then the gold vase, even you drop it, it doesn't break. And so, because as a bodhisattva, if you have what is called engaging bodhicitta, you take vows. Yeah, like quite a few, like 18 root vows and 46 branch vows, which you take actually at the end of chapter 3. Yeah, this is okay. Good. Next. Now, Michal, you can come. What do you mean, Rego?
I am number 10.
Number 10. Okay. What are the two kinds of bodhicitta in chapter 1?
There are two answers. I'm not sure which. Like what you said, there's the aspiring bodhicitta and the engaging bodhicitta, and there's the one for me was even more useful is that conventional bodhicitta and the five first paramitas.
Yes.
And
But here it talks about in chapter 1, right?
Yeah. So I think chapter 1 it talks about the aspiring and conventional.
Okay. Yeah, it says that the aspiring, like you hear this for a few times, and your mind starts to wake up and starts to think, "Wow, this is a good idea," and then you think, "Okay, I'll do that one day." That's aspiring to do it, and then when you have studied further and you kind of you try to practice, and then you think, "Yes, now I want to do this," and then you actually take the Bodhisattva vows and you engage what is called in the 6 perfections. Okay. Great. Next. Maybe we don't need the camera for that.
Why not?
Why not? I don't know.
Okay.
27.